Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1970s.
You've made an unbreakable vow. In the name of vengeance, you must forswear all human emotions, all love and hate, everything.
This is episode 172, recorded September 14th, 2022.
Gruesome Magazine.
I'm your host, Doc Rotten, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-host Jeff Mohr and I will tackle another classic, or not so classic, film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. Heavy on the influence tonight. With me this week is my co-host, Jeff Mohr. Jeff, sir, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I survived 8 hours of college math with my granddaughter earlier this week. So
Very good.
Feeling pretty good. Pretty good.
You are.
And by the way, vows are made to be broken. That's what I always say.
Well, I mean, that's by the nature, right? Yeah. Also joining this week is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, and all around nice guy. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm kind of recovered from the post-Dragon Con letdown.
Dragon Con?
Yeah, kind of the end of con season in general, though there's a few that sprout up every now and again. Would love to see some Decades of Horror fans show up at some of these.
There you go.
Stop by and say howdy.
Yeah. Did you see any really cool cosplay that would be relevant to 1970s?
I gotta say, this year, either maybe the rain kept some of the big cosplay stuff from happening, but also this year I kind of avoided some of the late night party scenes. It's not my bag, man. And also I had Crystal and Sean to hang out with, and that just seemed like a better use of my time. And
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
But look, it's a creative festival. I mean, there's just so many cool things. Definitely worth going to.
Yeah. Well, you can always find a Dr. Zayas here and there. You can always find Logan's Run people.
Yeah.
What's the is it Zartov? What is it? The one what am I saying?
Zardoz?
Zardoz.
Oh, God. Oh no, thank God.
They're everywhere. I saw those last time I was down there.
I saw a lot of everything everywhere all at once.
I bet there was a lot of
the raccoon on the head and people with the hot dog fingers. There's a lot of that going on. So that was cool.
Yes, awesome stuff. All right, well, tonight we are reviewing Lady Snowblood from 1973. And this is a Toho picture. Do I have that right, Jeff?
A what?
Toho?
Yes.
I was trying to remember, did I see that or did I make that up? But this is also a very influential movie.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you're a fan of Quentin Tarantino. We'll get into all that here shortly. But this is an interesting film for us to cover. It is a horror film by reason of gore, because this film brings on the gore, but it's very Japanese style. And
if you look at the film Revenge in the last few years,
true. It's on the cusp. It's out there in the nether. But we like to bring those.
It's horror adjacent.
We like to bring those in and embrace them and share them with you. So that's what we're doing tonight, and it's worth it. Trust me, tonight it is worth it. So let's just stop beating around the bush and let's take a look at the card and let's get into all the goodies. Boom. Lady Snowblood from 1973, and I'm going to try my best with these names, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, good luck.
Directed by Toshiya Fujita, written by Norio Osada, Kazuo Kamimura, and Kazuo Koike.
And those are the writers and the illustrator of the manga.
Ah, nice.
Manga that it comes from. Manga.
Nice. The cast includes Meiko, Kaji, Koi Nishimura, Toshio Kurosawa, Iju Okada, Sane Nakahara. Did I do better than usual on that? I think I might have.
We'll never know.
Well, we could though. Production company is Toho. It was distributed in the U.S. by Universal Pictures. Release date was December 1st, 1973 in Japan, March 22nd, 1974 in US of A, also known as Snowblood, Snow of Blood. Lady Snowblood is what we know it as. Blizzard from the Netherworld. Hey, awesome. Synopsis is: a young woman is trained from birth to be a deadly instrument of revenge against the swindlers who destroyed her family. That is 100% what this film is.
Yep.
And
they made a big mistake.
They did. And you got it. The music's not there, but you kind of hear it even if you've seen by Tarantino. But this is might as well get it out of the way. But if you've seen Kill Bill, before you see this movie, you will go, "Oh, I know where that came from."
Yeah.
And if you'd seen this film before you saw Kill Bill, you go, "Oh, I know where Quentin got that." Yeah. It is remarkable how big of an influence this film is on Kill Bill, and we'll get into that.
Apparently, he had them watch that, in between setups and stuff. He had the crew and cast watch it. So
there is so much, and of course, he used the intro song, and we'll just get this out of the way too. He used the intro song, which is actually sung by the lead actress, who was a singer, but she had stopped somewhere along the line, and when it came out again with Kill Bill, it resurrected her musical career. Excellent. And she put out a couple albums after that. So a lot of cool things.
Everybody's happy. Yeah.
Everybody's happy. That's the touch you want, right? As a Quentin Tarantino, everything you touch is gold, right? All right. Well, let's get it. When did we first see this film, and what was our first impression? I think, Jeff, you picked this, right?
I did.
So let us have it. When did you first see this?
Boy, that's a few years ago. Not a long time ago, a few years ago, after it's been available streaming, and absolutely loved it, and absolutely saw it was after Kill Bill, right? So somewhere between then and now. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I love the story structure. I love the historic connection in Japan. It's got that trademark spurting blood that you get in a lot of Japanese movies. And one of the things I didn't know about that I've learned since then is about manga. So I need to go check that out. So anyway, and the character is awesome. She really shows almost no emotion throughout this film. There's a few images of determination or grim looks, but otherwise, she's not happy, sad. She's just out there doing this. And so anyway, I enjoy the heck out of it. We can get into details later.
That we will.
It's just so fun, I think.
So fun. Bill Mulligan, sir. When did you first see Lady Snowblood, and what was your first impression?
The first time I saw it was a while back after I loved Kill Bill, both versions. And I heard about it, of course, that it was influential, and I sought out some films before I got to see Lady Snowblood. I got to see Female Prisoner Scorpion, Jailhouse 41, which has the same actress. Fell in love with that film, but I couldn't find Lady Snowblood anywhere, so I finally ended up buying one of those gray market convention tapes, which was not in the best shape and didn't really show it to its full advantage. So I was a little let down. I just saw it again recently because of the podcast, and this time it's a nice print. It's on Shudder, and it looks great. And it was like I hadn't seen it before, really. I remembered little bits and parts of it, and I was, a lot of times when I watch these things, I'm kind of busy, so I'm multitasking. Now, this is one of those, I just sat back and watched the film, completely absorbed in it. I love her performance. I love her performance in everything she does. She just feels to me like a female Clint Eastwood man with no name character. Mm-hmm. You could say she's not acting because she's not doing the usual things that you think of as acting, but she's not just a blank slate. Her eyes are incredibly expressive, and she has the ability to perform in a way that isn't giving you very much, but lets you read a lot into it. I think it's great. A lot of fun. Now, it's not as gory. We don't want to oversell the gore because compared to, say, Shogun Assassin, which was, I believe, based on manga by the same people who did Lady Snowblood, this is Nickelodeon, but
Yeah.
but when the blood does come, and I do like that Japanese kind of vibe where it's, set up, long pauses, and then all of a sudden, where'd that come from? And it's all over the place. This is the reddest blood. The thickest, reddest blood. This blood is so red, it does something most fake blood can't do. It still looks red even on black.
Yes.
Yeah. This makes Hammer look like pink Kool-Aid.
There you go.
So not realistic, but that's okay.
It wasn't intended to be, I don't think.
No.
So I knew of the film, but this was my first opportunity of seeing it. And I saw it over the weekend, and I absolutely fell in love with this movie. I love this movie so much. The structure is interesting, but the story itself is very simple. It's a revenge. It's set up, and she executes it, and that's it. It's got a surprise here and there, little twist, but every corner that it turns, I'm like, oh, that's Kill Bill used that. Kill Bill used that. Kill Bill did that, except for we didn't get to see the result of that. It was hidden, and that might be the Kill Bill 3 if we get it. So anyway, so there was all these things. And then the music, when I heard the music, I was like, oh my God, I totally didn't know. I absolutely love this film. I don't know, Bill. I think this movie has plenty of gore to satisfy gorehounds. I mean, every fight is filled with spurting blood. There are limbs chopped off, heads are chopped off, bodies are chopped in half, blood splurts freely. And sometimes the sound effects make it sound like a freaking faucet of blood coming out of somebody splurting onto the floor. It is amazing. I love it. But at the same time, I also love our lead actress. She does have this unquestionable screen presence that is magnetic and charismatic, and she's like that Clint Eastwood, quiet stranger coming into town. And I mean, she has dialogue, but not much, and it's very exact, right? It's to the point. There's no BSing around with her, and I just. Every moment I cherish this is. I am so glad you picked this, Jeff. I probably
good.
I don't know when I would ever have made the time to watch it, and now I got to figure out when do I watch the sequel, because there's a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
So I heartily recommend this movie too, and don't worry that it's not fully a horror film. You're going to be satisfied as a horror film because there's plenty of.
Expand your horizons.
Yes.
Now, and look, yes, there is a lot of blood. But you got to remember, I saw Shogun Assassin at a very early age, and it kind of warped me for life. That's the bar that all other films have to jump over before, like, boy, that was a blood fest. So I'll go to John Wick and people died, whatever.
Yeah. Well, even Kill Bill has more blood in this, but
that's true.
Let me ask you about the blood, because there is a place during the film where they show some of the manga illustrations, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm, without knowing what I'm talking about, number one, the thing that impressed me with the blood is it was thin enough or not so viscous that it ran easily. Yeah. But still, very little of it was entirely opaque, whatever it was running on. I couldn't figure out how in the hell did they make that such a
lot of pigment. Put a lot of pigment in there.
Cow.
And a lot of times, sometimes I've noticed in some of the Shogun Assassin movies, they used, and I've been trying to find one, an old school fire hydrant, the kind that you would fill with water and then you would pump it so that you could get a tremendous amount of pressure there. Yeah, those things are great because you can shoot thick blood through them and it still comes out, and you just hide the hose in there. You could tell sometimes the actor would I've just been cut in the throat, throws his hand up there, and all of a sudden the blood shoots out. I suspect the hose that's how I would have done it. Hose in the wrist.
Well, it's running.
It looks great.
I mean, there's one where it's running. It's like running over like you said, it's running over the black clothes like water almost, but it's still so thick and red that it covers it. My other question is, I'm kind of assuming that this whole style of having the blood spraying all over the place is sort of a visual, a movie version of how things are shown in mangas sometimes with
Yes.
with a big red
But
splash.
I'll tell you, that goes way back. You watch Kurosawa's Sanjuro, which is a masterpiece. And for the whole movie, Toshiro Mifune is trying not to fight people. He's a samurai, an expert, and he doesn't want to fight. And finally, at the end of the movie, you get to see the big fight between him and another samurai. And it's just the two of them staring at each other. And all of a sudden, swish, they run by each other. There's a flash of swords. And the guy explodes. Now, it's in black and white, but it still looks like the same stuff. He just explodes with blood everywhere and falls over, and everyone watching this is shocked. And I can't imagine what audiences back in whatever year it was must have thought to see this. But that is the style, and that is how the manga is. Mm-hmm. There's more blood comes out of a human than humans have blood.
Right.
And usually they're still talking while it's happening. They're commenting on how much blood's coming out.
I wonder if Grand Guignol had any influence on it, because they would do that. They would pull out like big long sheets of red to accentuate the blood flow on stage. So I wonder if that's kind of.
I wonder if there was anything like that in Japan.
There had to be, right? I bet they stole it from Japan.
Maybe. Worth looking into.
I know. I'm talking out my ass. I have no idea, but just regardless. They still use it today in various films, and of course Kill Bill did too. Kill Bill used it so much that in the States they had to present it in black and white.
Right.
That scene, because it was too bloody.
Too much.
But the Japanese cut is in full color.
Yeah.
It's glorious. The whole 88. But anyway, we're not talking about Kill Bill. We're talking about Lady Snowblood. And they, there's only 4 instead of the 5, 6 if you count Kill Bill. There we go, back to Kill Bill. But there are the 4, and there's a nifty surprise kind of tied in it, because they find one had already died. There was a tombstone, and that was I think that was one of the few times she actually showed emotion, because she was like distraught that she couldn't go get it. So there's one of the rare times, and she's also teamed up with that one guy who also has a twist.
Yeah, and I should reframe that because it's not that she doesn't show emotion; it's just not super animated emotion. It's
right,
like Bill was saying, it's through the eyes or a tear coming down, or
she's not emoting for other people because that they're not a part of her. It's the emotion is an internal emotion.
Well, so I was looking this up. So anybody wants to correct me or fill this out, please do. But they talk about her being an Asura. Asura, and when I tried to look that up, it said it was one of 5 paths in Buddhism, and what that meant was you would stop at nothing to accomplish your goal, and that meant
seems fair.
Killing your friend, killing your parents, killing anybody that would stop you from your objective.
So basically, so you're a demon by most definitions.
Right.
And that's a fascinating thing about this movie. We're used to watching revenge movies. Someone does you wrong and you dedicate your life to making them suffer. That's fine. That's a perfectly legit, that's Kill Bill. But this one's a little different in that no one did anything to her. She was literally conceived. Her mother conceived her on purpose for the sole purpose of carrying out her vengeance. She's doing this vengeance on account of other people. She never even knew her. Well, he wasn't her father. Her brother, her half brother, died long before she was born. I mean, she's carrying on this vendetta on something that happened that she had really no connection to. It was her mother.
And was hearing it third party, because the other prisoners were the one that were actually sharing with her. Although she does retain that one memory of seeing her, even though she was newborn. That's kind of crazy to think about, but. Well, you kind of have to go with that one, right?
I think that really works with the emotionless thing, because if she were carrying out these with the men who raped her, there would be much more enjoyment at their suffering and everything. And instead, this is simply a task. I mean, the one guy, he seems genuinely sorry. He's a wreck. He's just a complete derelict of a man, pimping out his daughter, his life. Frankly, she does him a favor by killing him. She doesn't derive any pleasure for it, but this is her purpose. You kind of want. I am interested in the sequel, because what does she do afterwards? What does a vengeance demon do once vengeance has been sated? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to watch that sequel.
Got to pick up a new quest. The villains, if you will, are interesting, especially the last two. She goes up against the lady and then the one who might be dead. So there's how they bring them into the story. I really appreciated it, because she drew the one out, right? Following, I think somebody gave her like a thing, do this, and she'll come to you, and that's exactly what happened. And then the other one was a huge surprise, just showing up, right? Coming in, and then of course that her friend, the one friend she makes, turns out to be a little bit of a problem. And I guess arguably she has a second friend, but that second friend does her in.
Or does she?
Or does she? Yeah. But she's also, again, you go back to Kill Bill. There is a equivalent character in Kill Bill. The daughter of
yes, that's right.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
She goes, when you grow up, and you come to get me, she won't hold it against her. She'll understand. So, and of course, they've talked about.
They've talked about it. I love those two movies so much. On the one hand, I love to see any Tarantino movie. On the other hand, I'm perfectly happy that the story ended where it ended.
Do something different. So I hate going back to it, but it was just I couldn't watch this movie without thinking,
right?
Comparing it, the parallels. And I'm wondering how much of that is part of the reason why I love it so much, or is it just I love the story and the concept and the beautiful spraying blood. I mean, when I say that, I mean, it is like, it's presented as art, not gore, right? It's presented like, I'm going to spray all this stuff all over the wall, and it makes this beautiful, bloody design. Or they watch it trip over the rocks, right? Or something.
Again, just in reading about it and looking at a few frames, but in the manga, the sword work by Yuki it's just incredibly artful. It's these incredible poses that he puts to paper, and they come close to. I think they duplicate that pretty well on this. So these scenes, I'd love to watch them go through it again and just watch those scenes in slow motion.
And
the sword flashes so fast, and then I love the ones where, like, the sword, you think they swipe down here, but you're not sure where they cut. Well, then you get a row of spurting come down across the chest or around the shoulders or something. It's great.
This reminds me, her stance, her battle stance, reminds me a lot of one of my favorite series, Zatoichi, which is a blind swordsman. And they both have this way of holding swords. I'm pretty sure almost nobody ever used. Holding it almost more like a dagger, which makes no sense. But in a way, everyone else is holding their sword normally, and they're like, why are you doing that? But because, and that's part of the conceit, that because they fight in a completely unorthodox style, nobody knows how to fight them, so they tend to win a lot. But it also gives you some really cool, unusual poses beyond the usual baseball bat holding sword thing. It's the contrast is so great too. She's a beautiful woman, pale skin, bright white dress, blood. I mean, blood just, especially that blood, it just shows up against the contrast of beauty and, sex and death. It's just, it's great. It's poetry.
I'd love to go back through too and just look at the use, because there's, in different scenes, there's splashes of red either on her clothes or in the background, and see if that's indicating anything or just used to, add some more color to the.
It pops in contrast. It's made to pop.
It does.
This is one of the times where, we've given Hammer a hard time for their bright red blood, but that's part of the charm. But here, it's not used just to be charming. It's used for artistic purposes. I mean, they're using it because the brightness contrasts against all the other colors, and it's told like more like a poetry or a big play, and I really appreciate that. I really do.
Well, I like that they have a one of the villains is a woman. You know,
Mhm.
normally you wouldn't think that, but it's there's three guys and a woman who screwed over the people in this town and lied to them and, you know, bribed them for money to keep their kids from going into the army or being conscripted, and didn't work. And that's why the Yuki's mother, why her husband and son were killed. And I like the way they do that too. They don't labor on that. They don't show the husband's death is very graphic and detailed, but the son's death, we just get a quick flash and we see that
we see
that bright
he's already
red.
dead. Yeah, you know, that was a fascinating thing too. One thing I like about watching some of these Japanese exploitation films is they introduce you to some history you're totally not aware of, and you get the feeling this whole thing is very convoluted. So they're drafting people, but they start rumors that you can pay to get out of it. But then they also, I guess, they're visited by men in white who are probably emissaries from the government, and so they start a rumor that they're like vampires who drink the blood and cannibalize people. It's like, what are you talking about? But you get the feeling this is not something they made up for the movie. This is like part of Japanese history, the weird stuff that everyone doesn't talk about. It's like, wow, that's fascinating.
Well, this is again, and it's kind of when in the turnover from the Shogun era to the more emperor imperial trying to industrialize the society, and of course
it was a bad time
taking advantage of it. And we get that scene of I forget what they call it. The final chapter is called the Pleasure Palace final scene of Carnage, which is it's like a Victorian ball, you know, all people dressed up fancy and lots of bright colors and dancing and music and stuff, but it's opulence that isn't earned, right? It's these
there's a lot of politics in here, and also you know, again, we're going to keep mentioning Kill Bill, the unconventional structure that this film has, flashbacks or flash forwards. I'm not sure where the flashing's going on, but it's not it doesn't start at point A and go down to point Z. And Kill Bill certainly was all over the place in the same way. It's really cool because it lets you tell a story. You know, this would have been kind of ordinary if we start out with the mom and just go on and watch her growing up without anything else. It's like, come on, let's get to the killing already. So, you know, we get the killing in the first 10 minutes. It's like, well, that was intriguing. How did we come to this? And then we find out.
Well, yeah, and you're right. They don't. It's interesting because there's some movies I watch where they like don't tell you everything at the beginning, and it really ticks me off. But in this one, it's like it's somehow or another it's done right. You know, I'm like going, well, who is this? Well, this must. I don't know. You know who it is. Maybe there's a little bridge narration that I forgot, but. We see the scene where I think the intro scene is the father and the son dying. And then I don't know, at some point she's anyway, her training isn't talked about at all. That comes in later where we see her with the priest or whatever he is that's training, roll out the barrel.
What a great way to show somebody flying out of a barrel.
Oh wow.
And that is totally echoed in Kill Bill with the cruel tutelage of Pai Mei. I'm surprised he didn't put Uma Thurman in a barrel and roll her down a hill.
Or give her an umbrella. That umbrella scene. So the beginning where she has the umbrella and she's fighting with the umbrella is pure gold. And you know, of course, she's got the sword in the umbrella, which is
right.
And that's
where she meets the guy on the
awesome. With the rickshaw, and that's one of the ones she kills. So before we even know what the hell's going on, and of course, it's always or often with the backdrop of snow, or it's actually snowing. Which, again, this movie is gorgeous to watch, and
beautiful cinematography,
incredibly, incredible. The cinematography is terrific. The lighting's terrific. The acting is wonderful. The The choreography is wonderful. The music is wonderful. It is. I truly fell in love with this film. It is so well done.
Yeah,
so well done. Let's take a look at some of the posters and stuff. We have some visuals. Bill, sorry about your face. Here, I'll swap.
I think this is an improvement. No,
there you go. That must be the original Japanese poster. Yes,
I guess so. I had trouble finding things. So this was released in America, but I couldn't really find a whole lot of stuff there. There's variations. I like that with
tons of DVD covers. Yeah, I was looking for them too, and it's hard to find.
There she is. Now that picture posters on the bottom is from Female Prisoner Scorpion Jailhouse 41, and just so iconic. I mean, she looks good. Her face is just so amazing. It really is. Whether it's peeking out from behind all this black, or in the white, it's she gets an awful lot without having to swing for the rafters. Just she was so good in these roles. Now she, I guess, was tired of doing the female Scorpion movies, and they had to talk her into doing this one because it's similar. Yeah. It's still vengeance. I think one of the things that sweetened the deal when they said you can sing the theme song, she's like, okay, all right, I like that idea. That was a good move, and she's good at it too. So it wasn't like they were hurting the film.
Yeah, it was a bonus for them.
Oh yeah.
There's some of the original manga.
Yeah, and that shows you the kind of spraying sort of thing you get in those manga. It's a lot of cool stuff.
See, there's the snow down below. It's all
right.
And you got that little red on the umbrella and the butterfly kimono.
Yeah. There's the white and the red there down at the bottom.
Yeah,
there's a lot of blood.
That is pretty cool looking. I like the scene.
I was gonna say, look at that shot on the top. It's such a artful.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely came out of
It's not supposed to be realistic. Yeah, exactly. I like the scene in the middle. This is one of the other things. The Zatoichi movies, especially, always had a scene with gambling. That must have been a huge part of gangster living back then, and it always amazes me because the games they play make absolutely no sense. It's like gambling ought to have at least some level of skill, but literally a lot of times is they throw a couple dice in a cup, turn it upside down, you bet on odd or even. It's like, I don't see how in the long run you're not going to just basically come out 50-50. I don't know how the house even makes any money on this deal, but okay. But it's usually a good opportunity for things to go south when somebody tries to cheat.
Yeah. Well, we've seen American cinema as well. But down below, the bottom shot really illustrates how they do the splatter. And I just love it. The natural design of it. Again, it's art.
Oh, Bill.
What?
I'm sorry. We're talking about the cinematographer, who is Masaki Tamura.
Yeah.
Same cinematographer that did Evil Dead Trap.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go.
Wow.
I thought, wow, this is crazy.
You are.
What else do we want to talk about? Because all I'm going to do is say how much I love this. So you guys going to have to bring up some stuff that you.
I mean, it's a simple. It's a story. It doesn't have a lot of quotable lines. You just watch it and you enjoy it. This is
it's almost operatic, right?
Yeah, and for a Japanese exploitation film, it's not as exploitative as they often are. When you have a women in prison movie like the female Scorpion movies, wall to wall nudity, lots of abuse and rape and S&M and just unpleasantness all around. And this director really didn't go for that sort of thing. These two films are very unusual in his list of films. So I think he brought something else to, in a very exploitive genre. He brought more the drama and everything. He didn't linger on it. We have a couple scenes where we see her mom, going at it with every prison guard in her attempt to get pregnant, but we don't linger on it.
Even that's artistic the way they did it.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And it's not. It's a turnaround, I mean, the people she's having sex with are sleazeballs, but she's the one that's
she's using them,
driving it or focusing on it and getting something out of it, as opposed to anyway, it just has a different feel to it. The I guess this is the first action film this director did, and it's the first manga that the writer adapted.
Okay.
So it was a couple of first things there. And I think it's interesting, and maybe this comes out of the manga. I haven't read it, but I'm going to. It's available on at Amazon still. The writer puts himself into the movie.
Yeah.
I thought that was writes a manga and makes her famous to flesh out one of the.
I thought that was kind of cool that they actually use the manga in there.
Yeah, and I like the twist with him as well. Luke, I am your father twist. I like that. I don't know. It kept me interested with the way the plot is structured and the way they keep surprising and putting challenges in front of her. And then of course the final confrontation and what they call it, the pleasure den.
Pleasure Palace. Yeah.
Pleasure Palace. It even had the railing and the steps that was similar to Kill Bill, where they bounced around on them. They didn't do all that in this one, but it still had a huge part in the finale.
So I think just so people
over him.
Yeah, if people aren't familiar, Bill's talking about these female prisoner scorpion movies. I think there's 4 of them. One of them was done after this, 3 of them before. They're all available on Shudder right now as we record this. So
I would not recommend you watch one after another because you'll have a really horrifying view of humanity. But and I really can only speak mostly for Jailhouse 41, but that is an amazingly interesting movie. It's like it just goes. It's in its own universe. Amazing colors, amazing cinematography, just unlike almost any other film out there. And she is superb, absolutely superb. So,
and that's the second one.
Yeah,
it looks like.
Yeah.
Sounds like she has a fan.
Yes, she does.
All right, we have feedback tonight.
Jeff? We have lots of feedback.
All right, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our final comments. Let's give a recommendation, as you will. And I want to know what scene impressed you the most for whatever reason, be it the gore, be it the structure. Jeff, you're up first.
Okay, so yeah, I think you gotta watch this. If you liked, well, let me put it to you this way: if you thought Kill Bill was a bunch of baloney, then don't bother.
Yeah, this is good.
But I just think it's an amazingly beautiful movie, and right now, as we're recording this, it's on HBO Max. The female prisoner ones are on Shudder, but the Lady Snowblood movies, both of them are on HBO Max and the Criterion Channel. As far as a scene that made me go, what? Oh, wow, there's 2 of them, and I can't. Well, I'll do the first one that I talked to Doc about already. But when they catch up to the woman, and I was totally didn't get this, so maybe you guys can help me out. They're about to catch the woman, and she takes off running through this, multi-storied house, and they find her upstairs and she's hanging. And I just thought she hung herself. That's what I thought. You find out later that may not be the case, but apparently Lady Snowblood is so ticked off by this, with one swipe of the sword, she cuts her in half, right across the stomach, and the bottom drops out, and it sounds like a rainstorm, a cloudburst of blood pouring down on the floor. It's I don't know. It's impactful. It's crazy. It's beautiful. I was like, what the? And then I heard the noise going with it.
Yeah.
The sound is awesome. The
yeah.
gaffing. You literally stole my favorite song.
Yeah.
Well, I'll
That
take
is
a
hard to
different one.
forget.
No.
Yeah, take them all while you're at
No,
it.
don't
we
take
got
them all.
nothing
No.
left.
All right, Bill, you're up next.
Well, obviously, highest recommendation. Yeah, definitely watch this. And I guess it's true if you don't like Kill Bill, I got nothing for you. I don't know what planet you're from. It's one of my favorites. So yeah, this is just really good. And favorite scene, it's a little tiny thing, but I think in the very first fight, which is good because it's out there in the snow and everything, and the way she hides behind her umbrella, and the two lugs like stab into the umbrella. They can't see where she is. Well, needless to say, she is not where they think she is, because now that they've revealed where their swords are, they are not long for this world. I like that. I like all variations of that. You know, the creativity of, this is not how sword fare actually happens, but you know, in the Wild West, we also didn't have very many people who would do duels the way they do. This is stylized violence. It's the Japanese samurai version of the Western duels. I love that stuff. Eat it up any way you can, make it different. I'm just a big fan. So yes, definitely. Thank you for recommending this, because gave me the excuse I've been looking for to watch it.
Of course, he takes my second favorite scene.
That's what you get for putting yourself third.
Oh man, I absolutely, like I said many times in the past hour, I love this film. It is in my wheelhouse. It is the kind of cinema I love, and I love watching it now, knowing the influence. Right? There's something special about that when you look at this film and you realize how influential this film is, because it's not just Kill Bill. I mean, Kill Bill is the obvious one, but there you watch, I would imagine any Japanese film that, you know, takes that blood splatter thing, and there's been quite a number of those, you know, it's got to originate from this era, right? These films that we're talking about. And, you know, hey, you do it right the first time, it lasts, you know, and it's a beautiful film. It is far better than the plot suggests. It's far better than, you know, I don't know what kind of reputation this is. I'm kind of like outside of the box, and I'm surprised by that, because this is, I don't know why I haven't fallen in love with this film so much earlier, like 2 decades ago or 3 decades ago.
I don't think it was that available, you know.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So I was going to say, yeah, it's a must watch. Absolutely have to see it. If you love gore, you'll love this movie. If you love Quentin Tarantino, you'll love this movie. If you love Japanese films, you'll love this movie. It's fantastic. My favorite scene, if it's not going to be those two, is going to be the battle at the end on top of the steps at the Pleasure Hotel, or whatever. What is it? The Pleasure Palace?
Pleasure Palace. Yeah.
Pleasure Palace. And the decision she has to make at the time she has to do it. I just thought, you know, there was something poetic about it. You know, there was a sacrifice involved, and, you know, and stuff. And it just there was something powerful about that scene, and what she had to do, and what happens. And I don't want to give it all away, but it's because it's one of the final scenes, but it really was. I was like, all right, this guy's got to go out, you know, in style, and
right.
There's no wood chipper, so what else are you going to do? Right?
Yeah.
It hadn't been invented yet.
Yes. All right, so there you go. Catch this film and leave us some comments down below what you think of it as we go into some feedback. Jeff, what do you have to say?
Well, let me throw something out first, just as an example of what went into this movie, and it was in the writing. There are chapter headings.
Mm-hmm.
The chapter headings are things like Chapter 1 is Vow of Vengeance, a thread of blood connecting love and hate.
Wow.
Chapter 2, Bamboo Wives and Tears of Wrath.
And I did not know what a bamboo wife was until I
didn't either. Chapter 3, Blood-Soaked Umbrella, Grief Scattered Like Flowers. And then Chapter 4, the Pleasure Palace, Final Scene of Carnage.
Yeah.
Like those. I get goosebumps reading them. They're so well done.
there's so much more than we get today.
Yeah.
You know, we get
So yeah, it's streaming on HBO Max and or pay-per-view options, and the Criterion Blu-rays are still available. You can buy them combined or separately, I believe, the 2-pack. So go for it. All right, feedback. Oh, one more thing. Well, the thing I loved about that fight on the stairs is when who is it she swings at? I think it's the fake guy that she kills.
that's right.
They swipe at him with his sword, and his hands fly off against the wall with a sword, and they're still in his hands.
Yeah.
And the other guy like pulls it free, doesn't he? So he's like shaking the hands free. I forgot about the fake.
Yeah, the hands.
Oh my god, the fake bad guy was wonderful. What a. Anyway, I mean, it was like.
If they had just a little more spirit gum, it would have worked, right?
Yeah,
or something. I don't know.
I mean, it was like Mission Impossible, like yank. Oh no, or Scooby Doo.
Yeah,
Scooby Doo that bitch.
All right.
All right. Let's get on to feedback.
One more time.
You can't stop talking about this movie. All right, episode 171, Chosen Survivors from Mikey Z. Grue Crew just saw this on Patreon, 70s Chosen Survivors episode, and I have my own bat story to tell.
Yeah.
By the way, if you are a Patreon subscriber, you get the Decades of Horror episodes about 10 to 12 days before they go public. So that's why we have a comment, and that just went live today. Chosen Survivors. All right. Back to Mikey Z. When I was a youngin', I would spend summers in upstate New York. Down the road from where we stayed was an old abandoned barn in a swampy area that was home to hundreds of bats, not of the vampire variety. As the residence where I was uphill from the barn, and it abutted a forested area that housed small twin ponds, the bats would nightly fly over the property to feed at the two bodies of water. On occasion, we would get a bat in the house, and like John Candy in The Great Outdoors, we would suit up to tackle those flying rodents. I recall several times with tennis racket in hand, swatting at them, but never seeming to make contact. Eventually, it would fly out the same way it entered. Years later, the barn was destroyed, I think, in a fire, and never saw a bat afterward. That's my story. Not much compared to Chosen Survivor or Devil Bat, but just throwing it out there.
I love that story.
Everybody's got a bat story. We were given our bat stories. Then on episode 170, Empire of the Ants, from Lone Wolf. How you doing, Lone? Can I call you by your first name? Whoever called Olivia Hussey in that sorority house tried to call Bill. I think that's the one where your phone rang.
Oh, I was so confused reading this. I have no memory at all.
Get the fireplace poker ready. Yeah. I've never seen Empire of the Ants, and thanks to you guys, I never will.
Well, you're welcome.
Oh my god, oh, that's great.
I've seen the better of Burt Gordon's films, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
There was a weird time for movies like this in the 70s, movies that took the concept when animals attack to the extreme. Nightwing, Orca, Squirm, and that John Saxon movie about killer bees. Yeah. Thank goodness Jaws soared above all of that eco-horror. Speaking of which, I wish Duel 1974 was streaming so you guys could review that one. Yeah. Yes, it's very simple with barely any story or characters to latch onto, but sometimes less is more, and Spielberg executes it wonderfully. True. I would totally agree, and we have talked about doing Duel, haven't we?
Yeah, we it's on our list. It's on our list to do. We will do it someday.
And where's Chad? We're missing Chad tonight.
Yeah.
He's got something came up from Dallas Nostromo. Love this film. Very realistic. This could really happen any day now. I also love Chad's shirt. Can I borrow it?
I guess I should say I love the sarcasm. Is that what we're saying here?
That's Dallas in a nutshell.
Oh, you mean he doesn't really love Chad's shirt?
I don't know. He might actually love the shirt. He might actually think he might be able to borrow it, but yeah.
He's probably not crazy enough to love Empire of the Ants, though.
All right. Also, Empire of the Ants from Evil Genius. Yeah, I remember this one. This film should have remained buried with Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. There are better ant movies in the 70s. Phase 4 was a cool one. Yes. The Hellstrom Chronicle had all sorts of insects.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
You know, I never liked the ending of The Mist. Maybe it was just performed in the wrong movie. Did we talk about?
I don't know. Maybe we did.
I think he's just wishing that the entire cast of this movie had, shot themselves.
Oh.
That's what I get from it.
Okay.
That's possible.
Yeah.
It just performed in the wrong movie. Gotcha. Now I get it. A little slow there, Evil. Anyhow, going to see The Wrath of Khan Monday night, September 5th on the big screen. Fun times ahead. Yeah, that was out on one of those Fathom events here a week or so ago. So
Gone.
All right, and now
Jerry.
One from Jerry Chandler, Empire of the Ants. I like this movie. Sure, it's stupid, but it's fun in its stupidity. And honestly, the more I see people in crisis emergency situations, the more the characters in this film
Unfortunately.
He's not wrong.
Even though we didn't officially see them on U.S. soil until the 90s, a part of the killer bee explosion was the hysteria around Africanized honeybees. The swarm, the savage bees, and the killer bees were all in part inspired by the reports of the northward drive of the Africanized honeybees. We think of the hysteria as a more recent area, but the rumbling started back then. If you think back on the memories you tried to forget, the bees in the swarm were killer African bees. I'm glad he pointed out that was something we'd like to forget. Jeff has never seen Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter. Someone drive to his house and correct this error in his life choices. Set his expectations a little low. Well, you know what? I looked it up. It's on Tubi, so I don't know. Maybe.
He's right about the expectations. Set them low, and you're
and this is actually a reference to his comment on the San Antonio Blue Demon movies, I think. Doc, I saw Lowlife way back when you guys reviewed it and recommended it. It was crazy, but I loved it. It's nuts how many times the film makes you re-examine what you just watched and manages to pull it off well.
Yeah.
That's a I would call that a great movie.
I love that movie. It's underseen and underappreciated. It is a fantastic movie.
Okay. And now apparently these are his recommendations for our schedule. Shriek of the Mutilated first.
Okay.
Then Kingdom of the Spiders.
Okay.
Then Nightwing.
All right.
Then Night of the Seagulls.
Got
to get the tombs.
And then he got drunk.
Then Deathbed, the bed that eats. Then
my God.
Frankenstein Island.
Oh,
no.
Vampire Hookers.
Oh God, Jerry, what have we ever done to deserve this disrespect?
I've been thinking about Night of the Seagulls. I keep thinking about it. We got to get to those. Seeming as though I think those are all out on Blu-ray now. I think. Now, this is one, I don't know if you guys remember this or not. It was a while ago, from West Norio, which I mispronounced the first time around, where he was asking us about it. He gave us a scene from a movie that was stuck in his memory, and could we figure out what it was? And we didn't. So he's writing us, "Hey, Grue Crew, thanks for being such an entertaining podcast and for reading some of my previous feedback messages." See, he's greasing it a little bit.
He is greasing it, yeah.
He is. Unfortunately, Evolution of Horror, my second favorite podcast, DOH is my first, of course, was able to answer a question that your podcast could not.
No,
After 40 years, I have discovered the answer to the question, what was that movie? It was The Blood-Spattered Bride from 1972.
Okay, yep.
I don't know how I could have seen this in the early 1980s when I was only 5 or 6, but it was playing on local TV on a Saturday afternoon.
That's some good parenting right there.
I'm assuming it was heavily edited. The only scenes I remember from that initial viewing were a woman being found washed up on a beach and that she wore her rings backwards with the gemstones facing her palm. And I that was, I think, the clue we had, and we weren't coming up with the answer. For the past 40 years, I've been trying to track this movie down based on those two fleeting memories. It's very loosely based on the vampire story Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu, which predates Bram Stoker's novel Dracula by about 20 years. The trailer for this movie was featured in Mad Ron's Previews from Hell.
I love
You may not know the movie, but you will definitely remember the trailer for how weird it is. Check out the Blood-Spattered Bride on Tubi, and Pluto for free. Thanks again for being such a great podcast. All the decades are fantastic, even when you're reviewing Empire of the which I loved as a kid. Not so sure now. Ciao for now, Wes DeOrio in PA. Wes has this down. He starts out, patting us on the back a little bit, then goes, but you couldn't figure it out. These guys did. And then comes back and pats us on the back again. It gives us a good feeling at the end. I'm glad you figured that movie out, and now we've got to go watch it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Blood-Spattered Bride is definitely, it's one of those Spanish horror movies during Franco that are really cool for the subtext. I'd totally forgotten. Yes, there is a scene where the woman washes up. Isn't it cool, though, when you do solve one of those, mystery things?
I'm glad he did.
I'll tell you, for close to 40 years now, there's a song. I only remember just a few snatches of it, and I have not been able to, find it or hear it and everything. And thank you, Sirius, new old wave, first wave station, because it was Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. They started playing it as I was driving, and I nearly drove off the road because it starts out with the one part that I remembered. And I'm like, this is it. Quick, hit the button so it tells you what it is. It's like, OMD, yes. All right. So,
well, I think I've thrown this out once before, but I'm going to do it again since we're talking about that type of situation. There's a TV show I saw when I was a kid, black and white TV show. Probably saw it around 1960 or so.
Oh, God.
And I don't remember the deal, but it had something to do with highwaymen. I remember the good guy was trying to find these guys that were hijacking people, and he's driving down the highway, and part of the time the lines, it was like highway hypnotism, like it's dark out and the looking at the lines would kind of hypnotize you. But then there's another scene where he's catching them and he's chasing them down the road, and they've got one of those old style car with the trunk that comes out and straight down, like a 30s or 40s car, and the trunk pops open and logs come out, and they're not small logs. They're like, maybe in my mind anyway, they're like a foot in diameter and falling out on the highway.
Final Destination logs here. Yeah.
Anybody see? So then he's got to swerve, and that's what they use to knock people out and rob them and stuff, I guess.
Wow.
I've looked through, I don't know how many different shows from the 50s at their episode descriptions and cannot find anything that looks like that.
Wow. I have no clue.
I'm sure nobody else will either, but if they do, holler at me. It made an impression on this little kid.
It's interesting how that happens.
Yeah, it is.
Do we know what we're going to be doing on our next episode there, Jeff?
Yes,
it is Bill's pick this time.
Bill's pick. And this should be interesting.
It's kind of a surprise. You wouldn't think that Bill would pick a movie like this. So
no. This is very unexpected because it's got stop motion animation by Ray Harryhausen. It's the first Ray Harryhausen movie that I saw in the theater, and it is still one of my favorites. It's got one of my favorite horror movie actresses, and it's directed by a horror movie director that we have talked about before, and we'll no doubt talk about again when we finally do Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. Yes, it is Ray Harryhausen's The Golden Voyage of Sinbad.
Yes,
lots of cool monsters in this one.
Some classic monsters in this one.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm trying to think. I believe I saw this one. I believe I saw this one and the next one, which is the
Sinbad,
the Tiger.
Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah. I know I saw that one for sure.
This one's way better.
Is this the one that has a Doctor Who in it?
Yes. Oh yeah, yes. Tom Baker.
I did
Tom,
see this one.
Yes.
Tom
I did
Baker,
see
who
this
makes a great villain.
Yes,
he's a
I did see
terrific
this one in the theater.
So much fun.
I had no idea it was Doctor Who when I saw it, but
Yeah.
and he was the Doctor Who that I first saw. That was the Doctor Who
Mhm.
that I was introduced to in the 70s on you know,
Everyone remembers their first Doctor Who.
what was it? PBS. PBS had it, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day when you had 4 channels at PBS. And the 4th channel was like, channel 20 or something like that, right? One of these,
Yeah.
the ones that had the creature features.
Yeah. 3 networks and a public television station in black and white. And you probably was at least one of them you didn't get very good reception on.
I was in DC. One of them was out of Baltimore. Yep. And you can,
Yeah.
that was the ABC channel, and you had to play with the rabbit ears.
Yeah.
The first time I saw Dracula in 1931 was when we were on vacation at a resort in northern Minnesota. You got one TV channel, and it like doubled for, it was everything. It was your news channel, and some of the time it had public programming and et cetera. And so late one Saturday night, they played Dracula, and I'm watching it on like 11 or 12 inch black and white TV alone in the cabin. My parents were like a couple of cabins away playing cards with somebody, and with my face right up to the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm loving every minute of it.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, and hearing noises outside,
Oh, of course.
And
Probably
stuff like
vampires.
Yes. Listen to them, the children of them.
Good times.
All right. Well, thank you all for your wonderful feedback. We're looking forward to Golden Voyage of Sinbad there, Bill.
Yeah.
There's going to be plenty of stories with that one. And also, Jeff, thank you for picking Lady Snowblood. It was a pleasure to watch it. I'm so glad to review it. And
I gotta go watch
Jeff,
Kill Bill again now.
Oh man,
Yeah.
don't
No
pack
problem
up
there.
my weekend. You're gonna pack up my weekend. I'm not gonna be able to do anything but watch movies.
Hey,
But
I want to point something out, Doc. You've been working your butt off. We had like 7 or 8 episodes drop in the last like 5 days, maybe.
stop. Yes, it's a lot.
Man.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Pace yourself, sir.
Oh my. Well, regardless of that, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Bill, for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was good.
Let's say goodnight.
I agree.
Good night, folks.
It's actually 9 in the last 5 days. Look,
Stop.
bye.
Too many. Good night.